Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
I'm Colin.
And I'm Josh.
and this is where we talk all things Star Wars. And before we get started talking about Jedi Survivor here, we want to thank all of our awesome patrons for all their awesome love and support. If you go to patreon.com, look up Star Wars Stuff Podcast, you can find us pretty easily. On the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Sean Greathouse, Zach Netzel, and Mariana Atia Arnold. On the red tier, we have Fenrir526, Maya Morris. And on the black tier, we have Maka Tautala, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, Liam McCallion, and Texas Vader 76. Thank you so much for all your awesome support, all your messages, all your likes, comments on Patreon. Fantastic. It's terrific. Thank you so much. And it looks like in the chat here we have Maka and Evan. How's it going, guys? So, of course, I know everyone wants to hear Colin and Josh's thoughts on Jedi Survivor, all the reviews. The game's not quite out yet for the general public, but what did you guys think of all the reviews that dropped?
So I know, which I know we're going to do our best, but Josh has been doing his best to stay away from like the major. I mean, there isn't that many. I guess there are major spoilers out, but like, I guess, Josh, you were saying you were trying to stay away from like the main plot points and everything that if they got released, so then you could just like fully enjoy the game and not like get spoiled like before it. Because Josh, I cannot stress this enough. This is Josh's like probably his favorite Star Wars project that has come out besides Andor. And we know he's super excited about it. But yeah, Josh.
I mean, it's sitting at like 86 right now and I've read a few of the reviews because they don't have spoilers in them. They said it was a lot more gripping than it was last time story wise. I'm very interested to see where the story goes. And we have I've always loved like this series. I feel allows them a lot of freedom to just add more like new things to the series. I think Cal has already been a fan favorite from the first game, so evolving who he is in this game, I'm pretty excited for. Personally, I don't know where they're going to lead to after this game, and that's my biggest question: is when this game wraps up, is where do we lead to next? That's definitely what I'm interested in the most. And none of the reviews have said anything close to where the ending is or where they felt like it ended and continuing on for the series. So I'm interested to see what happens. It's getting interesting reviews comparatively to the first game. So they said it's more of the good, less of the bad from the first game. So the improvements on game mechanics such as combat has completely been changed up. So I'm pretty excited.
Nice. Yeah, I saw a few reviews today. It looks like IGN gave it a 9.
Yeah.
An amazing ranking for the ranking system.
I'm just surprised it wasn't a 7.
And they say if Respawn makes a third game like Star Wars Jedi Survivor Fallen Order, it'll complete the best Star Wars trilogy in 30 years, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Praise right there.
So I know they were talking about this series of being a trilogy, and I'm kind of on board with Josh of where I'm just like, what's going to happen in this game that will lead into the third one. And I know that that Cameron Monaghan came out and said that at Celebration of when he was on stage was
give me the poncho.
Well, that yes, ponchos for sure. But which just kind of caught me off guard, and it was like, oh, okay, something might big happen, because he said, do not spoil the ending. Something big happens in the ending that affects the Star Wars universe in a big way. And he said, if the chance play it early or when you beat it, don't post the ending. Just let everyone enjoy it, like in their own way. So I'm really curious.
Why I think I'll be going dark on social media for a solid few days.
Yes.
When we get the release.
Yep. Yeah.
It's probably the one that I feel like people will be like wanting to talk about in our Facebook chat or our Discords.
Yep, for sure. And speaking of that, we will be going live on Twitch very early in the morning on Friday all the way into the evening. I'm gonna have to like leave at some point in the evening because some of us are going to the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. It's back in theaters, and I asked Josh to go, but he's like, "Nah, I've already seen that movie." And I was like, "All right,"
because I want to play.
yeah. No. I completely understand. And then
I'm looking to do like a speedy playthrough to begin with, get to the end of the story, play on the easiest to get as much story as possible, and then go back and try it for the hardest and try to collect all the fun things along the way.
there's so much customization too, dude. Oh man.
Yeah, the first round I want to like I always try and play the games, especially with story games, is to really involve myself with the story, understand it, and get my ending out of it. Be able to make like a criticism of the actual story itself, and then go back and then play it on the hardest difficulty. And I feel like if you play on the harder difficulties, it allows you to understand the game mechanics and see how much they've either improved on or failed on. In comparison to the first game of what people have been saying, because I don't know, like if you played the first one, it had its Dark Souls elements, from software elements in it. And then this one, I'm excited to see where it goes. I hope that it continues to be accessible for players who aren't attuned to that style. It's always hard to make a Souls-like game more accessible to people, and I feel like that's one of the biggest criticisms from the last game is that a lot of people couldn't get into the gameplay side, but the story kept them in there. Yeah. So I'm hoping that they improved on that and made it more accessible for everyone.
I heard that it's not just, I mean, because there's going to be different areas of where you'll be able to full out interact with different things, and it sounds like there might be side quests like here and there as well that you'll be able to do. So it's more, it's not an open world game, but they have said that it has more of an open world quality than the first game. And right now the only planets that we know that have names is Coruscant and Kobo that we'll be able to go to. Other than that, we don't have. We've seen, kind of different environments from the trailers, but we don't know the names of those other planets. And again, it's just going to be jam-packed with new lore for Star Wars, new creatures, new characters, and it's just going to be building up to it. And hopefully one day it will build up to live action Cal Kestis.
That's definitely something that I'm interested in, and I'm wondering where they're going to take this. It was something that I was wondering if they do a trilogy is if you end with Cal either sacrificing himself and he dies for this, or we're going to get him in a live action. And I think we had asked that question before to you, Dave, and you said, get him in here right now. We'd love to see him in a show. And I think for me, I was kind of like, let us have a trilogy. Let this be his thing. Like he owns this game series, like this section of Star Wars, that is his. So I felt like having him complete his trilogy and then move on to a show would be great for me. But you're always saying like more Star Wars, more characters, get him in there. And I think to this day, I'm always wanting him to pop up. So hopefully we'll get some answers in this. Moving to like some of the reviews that I saw, main thing that everyone has been saying is the story is great. It's a great progression, and it's truly proving to be one of the best Star Wars projects that they've been working on. The negative side that they've said is morely just technical issues. And I mean, with today's markets and stuff, in deadlines and crunch, it's, in my opinion, it's like, hey, we're going to be littered with technical bugs to begin with, but it's nothing that you can't patch out later. I'm okay with it. It's EA. It happens a lot. And it's like, hey, I'm going to run into technical issues. You're going to have some glitches, but I mean, it'll be patched within time. So I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Story is my number one thing.
Yeah.
Especially for this series.
And again, like, I'm just excited to explore. Like, each planet is going to have so much to see. And something about Coruscant has, it's always been a very exciting place for me because I love the prequels and all that. But I got a feeling that we're going to see places of Coruscant in this game that we've never seen before. We'll probably see some stuff similar, like from the films and shows and comics and everything off in the distance. But I think, of just actually exploring like the actual planet, it's we're definitely going to see some new things. And And I don't even know what the other planets are. And I know in the first game there was the official ones announced, and then when you actually played halfway through the game, they later then like had that secret planet that you could only go during the actual campaign, and you couldn't just visit freely. So I wonder if they'll do something like that again. But really quick, for those who didn't play the first game, Josh, did we want to do a quick recap of what happened in the first game?
I believe is it 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 5 years after Order 66.
Yep.
Basically, Cal was an old Padawan during that Order 66. How to explain that story without kind of like spoiling it if you haven't played it. Basically, it's a Padawan surviving out in the outer reaches. He's a mechanic who breaks down old Clone Wars ships. And then goes on a hiding and an adventure through the Star Wars universe, evading execution by Inquisitors. That I think the ending for that game was probably the biggest surprise for me, because that's definitely one that I didn't expect. What it came down to it, I think that was a perfect ending in that it leaves it as almost a horror game.
Okay.
I could just spoil it. Basically, at the end of the game, you have Darth Vader show up.
Yeah.
And, it's on the same planet if you've seen Kenobi, that's underwater. And when he shows up, it is a full-on, like, there's no point in even fighting him. You just have to run. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, I loved that. I was really scared that we'd have like another thing where you kind of like, I didn't want a Force Unleashed kind of, we're going to fight him and then you're eventually going to win or anything. It was just like, just drop everything and run.
Right.
So I was really happy with that. So I'm wondering where this is going to go story wise, which is what I'm trying to keep on complete reps for this whole time. Mm-hmm. Love seeing a Gendai in it. That's my favorite. It's this favorite species throughout Star Wars. What the biggest thing for criticism wise of what's happened so far is because it is one of those games where you want to be frame perfect in your attacks, because it is like that Souls-like game. If you're playing on, there's two different modes in PS5. So you have your higher fidelity mode. So you have your 4K, but it's going to play it as 30 FPS, or you have your 440p, 1440p, where it's going to be at a lower fidelity, but it's going to play at 60 FPS. So for that first round, going through story-wise, I might just play it on the 4K and see how it works. But when it comes to the harder modes, you definitely want to be able to do your frame-perfect attacks, because it is like that Souls-like thing where every frame, every second matters. So those are the biggest reviews. But yeah, everything's been going really well for story-wise, so I'm extremely excited about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, and there's also the book called Jedi Battle Scars. It's on Audible. So if you have the chance, I would go and listen to it or read it. But basically what happens in that book, because that fills in that 5-year time gap of what happens from, is it 5 years or 4 years? That happens from the events of the first game to the second game. Mm-hmm. And basically going into Survivor, you're going to have the crew of the Mantis split up. They're not really, like, they're still connected, but they're not, some members are not talking to each other. You also have Grease that went through a lot. Just to kind of talk about one plot point from there, he lost his arm from the fifth brother, which which that kind of shook him, like, from going out on adventures with them and everything. And that's one big reason why he left and everything. But it's definitely going to be interesting going in and not having that same vibe at first of where the full Mantis crew is there, because I think that's what a lot of people thought that Jedi Survivor was going to be at first, where it's going to be like, oh, we are going to have the whole Mantis crew with each other and they'll be going off on adventures. But it sounds like it's going to start off with like Cal just kind of being on his own again. But yeah, super, super exciting stuff. It comes out on Friday, April 28th. Can't wait. super, super exciting stuff.
And both of you guys have PS5s, right?
Yeah, we're both going to play it on PS5.
Okay.
The speculation for how long it's going to be is 25 to 30 hours if you decide that you go ahead and play everything in the game.
Yeah.
So what we know so far, tons of collectibles, tons of different items inside the game to go and find, fun secrets, and new mythos that they're going to be developing inside this game. So I'm very, very excited to see where it goes from here.
Nice.
There's also this is also happening the same year as the events as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Mhm.
So prepare yourself for some type of tie-in. I'm not expecting like, them being like, oh my gosh, we can't hunt Cal Kestis. Like there's Obi-Wan Kenobi right behind him. We have to go after him. I don't think anything like that's going to happen. But I think there might be some Easter eggs towards the actual show in some way, because that's a perfect opportunity. And we got a big Jedi Fallen Order Easter egg in Obi-Wan Kenobi because they had the planet from the game in there. So it would just make sense for Obi-Wan Kenobi to make some type of cameo in some way in the actual game. But yeah.
That was the biggest criticism that I had from that show, was that I have already seen like the big plot points of that planet play out through the game. I was like, wow, we're doing the same thing as the game. Okay.
Well, we technically didn't see the area where they had all the Jedi sympathizers and Jedi, right? Like of where they're all kind of cooped up in that weird glue stuff.
No, but
Okay.
having that whole kind of like machine where you like lay down in it,
Yeah.
the same where the water like breaks inside of it.
Yeah.
And we were making jokes like, you would have thought that the first time that happened that they would have fixed that, but they didn't. So
yeah,
I think it's really, really cool. We're gonna see continuing in the future. Also, like the whole someone falling, and then that's how they revealed that their Jedi is being like trying to pick them up with the Force instead of like letting them fall. So I was like, there was a lot of plot points that was in Jedi Survivor that was placed in Kenobi. So I thought that was pretty funny. But we'll see. I'm very, very excited to see where this goes from here.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Nice. Yeah. So I think if anyone is watching or listening to us right now, if you're on the fence and buying Jedi Survivor, I think you should probably buy it because all the reviews have been stellar. Colin, Josh, and James are going to play it. So if you have any questions, comments, you want to ask the podcast, email us.
When the edition does get to me, I'll do a whole unboxing for it. I know that is the exact same saber that you can buy at Galaxy's Edge. So if you feel like you couldn't get the lightsaber of the edition, you can purchase it from Galaxy's Edge. The only difference is there's an end cap piece on the bottom that closes it off. So because his lightsaber that he uses is his old master's double-bladed lightsaber that's been broken in half. So it'll be interesting. That's probably the biggest thing I want to see is how that thing screws on, if it's a different piece or anyone can screw it onto their own lightsaber.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's just going to be so much fun. And then you have the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi, but then a couple of days after that, you got May 4th, and you got Visions Volume 2 coming out. So it's just like, man, there's a lot happening within the next couple of days, and sometimes there's surprises on May 4th. So like announcements.
Do you think that we will get any of the trailers that we saw at Celebration on May the 4th?
I would hope so. The one that I would probably think that we would get would be Skeleton Crew. That would make sense to me.
Because it comes out first.
Right. Acolyte won't come out until later. That's the one I would love to see in HD, because I remember like our entire row was like, lightsabers, let's go. So I really, really would love to see that in HD. But
I think either D23 or May the 4th, one of those.
Yeah. And if you're buying it, as soon as you get it, download it right away, because the game is a big download.
On PS5, I believe it is 150 gigs if you're doing high fidelity. So it is a giant file.
Cannot stress that enough. Download it.
The next, I think the lowest one is if you buy it on if you buy it on Xbox Series S, that's like 89 gigs, I believe. It's the lowest one you can go. I was like, geez.
And the other thing is, this game is meant for the new platforms. They have made that very clear. That if you want the best experience, you need to play it on like on PC, PlayStation 5, or the new Xbox.
One of the cool things that I really like is they did work hand in hand with the people. If you haven't played with the PS5 controller, it does have different like haptic feedbacks, especially with the triggers. They said that this is one of the ones that they got to bring new technology in to the Star Wars universe, so you'll be able to feel your ignition of your lightsaber and your triggers.
That's cool.
It's like that. If you haven't played with the controller, it has some of the coolest like trigger feeling. So you feel like retention inside the trigger itself. So I'm very excited to see what kind of feelings you're going to have with that controller, what kind of sounds are going to come out of the controller.
So excited, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited with that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it feels like everyone's going to be playing it. If you haven't downloaded it, like Colin just said, you want to download that for sure. I think I'm the only podcaster now here that doesn't have a PS5. I have an Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
The Cube. So, yeah, I don't know. That kind of makes me want to buy it now and download it and have my experience on my Xbox, and all you guys will be on Sony.
Well, the other thing is we are doing a live stream as well. So for those that, aren't gamers, but you want to kind of know more about the story, you can live through, through that. So go and check out the live stream. It will be streaming on Twitch and through YouTube. So go check it out.
It's going to be a long one.
Yes, I will be playing all day. I will be
exhausted.
A grind. Yeah, but I will be playing the crap out of it.
And that's going to be this Friday, right?
Yep.
This Friday.
Woohoo! Very, very early in the morning.
All right, cool. So the next thing I think we want to talk about is some interesting news that dropped almost, I think, Monday, which was something that I don't think hit like a lot of websites, and a lot of people didn't really talk about it too much. But it's the fact that it seems like Rey is not going to be the lead of the new Star Wars film. And I know they didn't announce her as the lead or anything like that, but I think general audiences and just general fans kind of maybe had that assumption. But this comes to us from comingsoon.net. There's an article they posted, and I believe Bespin Bulletin also posted something, but I think they may have taken it down. I couldn't find it. The article states, while not too much is known about the newly announced Star Wars film, a recent report suggests that Daisy Ridley won't be leading the film she's set to appear in. During the latest episode of the Hot Mic podcast, co-host John Roca and Jeff Snyder of Above the Line discussed the new Star Wars movie. When answering a question about Ridley and potentially John Boyega's involvement, Roca revealed that Daisy Ridley won't be the star of the film. In quotations here, from what I understand, and what some of the rumors have come out of here, is that Daisy won't necessarily be the lead. She'll be like the Luke Skywalker or the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the situation, and she'll rebuild the new Jedi Order. These comments were confirmed by Jeff Snyder, who said she definitely won't be the lead, but a supporting character instead. So, Josh, what do you think about these comments? And did you think that she was going to be the lead initially?
I see. This is a thing that I think that they're, in my opinion, they'll do is they'll make her like the mentor character. I wouldn't doubt that she'd be like a supporting actress. I don't believe that she'll be the main. I'm wondering where it's gonna go. This is 15 years after. I don't know if we're gonna do like a whole like I've had a child. You know how we had those funny like images that people mocked up where like she's pregnant and she's having a child, but
and it's twins.
Yeah.
God, please no.
I don't know if we're gonna get like maybe it's someone's kids and their generation after that. No. I personally wouldn't like it because I want to see something new, some crazy stuff, some fun stuff. Who knows? For all they know, we'll get like a Grogu thing, or we'll do something random with some new character.
Oh, the Jedi Master Cal Kestis comes in, swoops in, has his knowledge. Who knows?
Who the main characters would be, is going to be interesting because this is still, at the moment, it's just one film.
Right.
It's not a trilogy. So it's hard to understand where they would want to end up going with this and what the future would be. I'm wondering if they're going to do a whole thing where we did the whole kind of phases that we had through the High Republic. So High Republic is still going on. They have a end, a set. They had a beginning, and now they have a set end. This is where it's going to end for the High Republic. So I'm wondering what they'll end up doing for this whole episode, where they're either going to do like, this is the beginning of a phase that we're going to have. We're going to have tie-in comics, books, maybe a game, and then maybe a show or other movies in the future. So I'm interested to see what they'll do with it. Whereas the Dave Filoni one seems like it's going to be a definitive end to like an end game kind of scenario to explaining how the First Order got to be where it is. This feels like it is a new beginning. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So Evan Opaker, our awesome patron, he's wondering, is Broom Kid gonna return?
Could you imagine that? Of like they're like training, and then you see this kid that just has a broom, and then they're like, hey, and then he drops it and just grabs his lightsaber, and we're like, oh wow, that's a great Easter egg from The Last Jedi. I love that. I just think that would be the most random thing. But yeah, I mean, I think anything is possible. I think that's the kind of big unknown question is, what exactly are they going to do? Who is the enemy going to be? Are they going to pull a lot from Legends? Because people like that sort of thing of when they do pull different storylines from Legends and make it canon. And I think that that going forward, not having any of the Skywalkers, I could see them doing Ghost Luke. You know, it could happen. I don't know if Mark Hamill would want that. But seeing Finn actually training, and or maybe at that point he is a Jedi Knight and everything, that would be great. Having Poe come in. A lot of people were saying it's going to be episode 10. I don't think it needs to be. I think it can be its own thing. I'm really curious of what the whole story is going to be. I think they've hinted at it too in the Lego. All right, so in the Lego holiday specials that they do and everything, it's not canon, but in ways it sounds like their stories are kind of like, oh, like, you know, here's Rey doing this, here's Finn doing this, and in the Summer Vacation one, they had Rey going off and getting ready to start the new Jedi Order. They had Finn kind of not knowing exactly what he wanted to do, and then they had Poe going out to explore the unknown regions. So and that was just a small cartoon. So who knows if they'll carry that over. I mean, I always find that canon in my opinion, because we got Max Rebo that came back for the holiday special, and which I will always be grateful for that. But I think that we're gonna see some new Force abilities like we did in the sequels, and I just don't need it to be anything with the Skywalkers. I think they can just leave that alone. Have a cameo from Mark Hamill, that's fine, but don't continue down that path, because you guys had your chance. It didn't go so great the first time. Let's just for box office, yes, but for story wise for us, it was just there were a lot of mixed reviews, and I think of just leaving it the way it is, I think is fine. I don't think they need to go down another path and be like, this is Anakin Skywalker's great grandson or something. Like, I don't think we need that. We can just leave it the way it is. Even though Rey's a Palpatine, she's a Skywalker. So either way, we're continuing the Skywalker saga. But no,
can't get away from it.
Nope.
Yeah, I think it's fine if they continue the Skywalker saga. It's not that big a deal to me. I mean, you don't have to say the name Skywalker repeatedly or point back to what happened in the original trilogy or the sequels. I mean, they can continue forward with
it's going to open
Skywalker
up
stuff.
It's going to be a whole bunch of like younglings running around, and they're all going to run up to Rey, and it's going to be her like behind, and then she's going to turn around, and then the kid's going to be like, Master Skywalker.
It has that feeling that we're going to get some young actors that are going to lead this movie to start it off, because it feels like when you think about it, if you want to continue something, although if you have too young of actors to be the leads, kind of like Skeleton Crew, they can age out pretty quickly. If you look at like Stranger Things, those kids look like they're like their late 20s already. So, and if they want to do a trilogy, I mean, you're gonna have to shoot it pretty quickly. But yeah, I'm just wondering about the story now. If Rey is gonna be an Obi-Wan type character, how's the main plot gonna go? Who's gonna be the antagonist for this story?
Yeah.
What's gonna be the antagonist? I mean, what kind of threat are we gonna see? It's gonna be interesting to see the direction they take this and take all of us. We do know that there's going to be an opening crawl that they kind of rectified, and it seems like going forward, all the films will have opening crawls. So now it's like, are we going to get a special edition Rogue One? But yeah, that's pretty much all we know. We know the director as well, Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy, who directed Miss Marvel TV show episodes. And I think she did a little interview today that's on social media making the rounds. And a little bit she talked about, I'm paraphrasing here, was the fact that she loves stories, no matter if they're male, female, about certain characters, the main characters in the story that have to go through something and kind of prove themselves. And I like that aspect. I like the way she's talking there. But yeah, it's a total mystery at this point what that film's going to be, and I kind of like that. But there's also another report, I think, that script is about to be turned in. So once that happens, they're going to shoot right away, and that's the projected film for 2025, which would be December 2025.
Right.
And there's also the report that Filoni's film is going to drop in 2026. So James and I on Patreon, we spoke about this, and it's like, it's going to be tough because Avatar owns the 2026 December drop date. So could this be another kind of solo crash course into May? It's going to have a ton of competition.
I think if you put Star Wars in front of Avatar, you know Star Wars is going to win. Like, that's
they're not going to release it at the same time as Avatar.
They're both the same. Like they're both under the same company.
Yeah.
So it's like why would you fight yourself?
Right. Something I did want to talk about though for the Dawn of the Jedi stuff is I recently got my hands on the new Star Wars Timelines book. And it's amazing, by the way. I love it so much because I'm all about the canon, and I love all of the new stuff coming into knowledge. But if you go to the beginning of the actual timeline of the Star Wars universe, it says that the Jedi Order officially starts 25,000 years 25,000 years 25 and 25. So it looks like that the Jedi Order will start 25 years estimated after what Dawn of the Jedi movie will be. And that's official
25 years after the Force is discovered.
Yes.
It says hypothetically I'm going to get the package tomorrow for my Jedi Survivor. So
nice. Yeah. That's what everyone was reporting on
it says media. It's tomorrow. From shop it says that it's tomorrow, so
yeah. Tons of people are playing Jedi Survivor right now. So
okay, well,
it might be almost like a tiered type of thing that they're kind of doing.
I hope that I can get it so I can download it, and then they're going to be like, then you hit the button, and then it's like, hey, wait until this time, and then you're able to play.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming it'll be. Unless I go, unplug offline.
Well, I mean, I know that some people change their time zones, and sometimes
You can't
they
change your
do.
time zone now because it is all releasing at the exact same time.
No?
Every single place around the world is releasing at the exact same time. Even New Zealand, it's not coming out till 4 p.m. in the afternoon, so that it hits 12 o'clock here.
That's crazy.
Yep, they are like, no one gets it early. Everyone's the same time. So it's pretty
Right.
funny. No spoilers.
Yeah, I do like Evan's comment here. Could Finn be the main character in this movie? That would be a nice kind of twist there, because we've talked about it before that John Boyega didn't show up in London, and he's from London, and Celebration was there. That would have been a prime opportunity for him to walk the stage, but maybe he's negotiating behind the scenes with Lucasfilm. Maybe he
pops out in Japan, comes up on screen. He's like, "I'm back, ready to see a trailer."
Well, I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, everyone would be excited because he was robbed, man. He was robbed in the sequels of like that. In Force Awakens, that was such a great build-up story, and then you just go to the next two, and you're like, "What happened?" And it was, oh man, I just feel like he got more. To me, he got more story, like more character growth in the Lego holiday specials that came out, and I was just like, "Come on, man!" Like of him being a stormtrooper going to a Jedi, that's awesome. Let's see that, and we barely got that in Rise of Skywalker. We got him just kind of sensing things, and that's it. And then we got him using a lightsaber only once, and it was just like, okay, but man, I would love to see him be the main character.
In my opinion, I feel Star Wars has a learning curve if you're going to make new Star Wars projects. And with The Force Awakens, I feel like that is something to go off of and learn from, especially having that be your first Star Wars projects being back into Star Wars from such a long hiatus. Towards the future of Star Wars, I would not doubt that he would come back to do another film or even a TV show, as much as he said he hasn't. But if you see what we've led into nowadays with our from games to movies to books to shows, I think that he would completely be on board for something new. I feel like they've learned from their mistakes and they understand that it's not just like, you can't just be like, oh, look, Star Wars character, and now you're happy. It's like you have to be able to develop that and show towards the future of what it's going to be. So I think he would definitely be down with it as long as you can have a set beginning and end to his character and or where he was going to go. And money.
Yeah, I also love the fact that he's a big Star Wars fan. He's a big Star Wars fan. And he was also he was kind of like the spokesperson for Star Wars Battlefront 2 when that game came out. And he loves Star Wars, and his fandom is still there. And I think if he gets the chance to come back for this movie, I think it's going to be a big redemption for not just of him being a fan, but also for his role in the sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other big factor, too, is that he might be on the short list to play, to be Kang the Conqueror. So that's a possibility, too. If that happens, yeah, he's not going to show up probably. But, I mean, there's a lot of people on the short list now to play Kang if they do get rid of Jonathan Majors in the MCU.
And then apparently Adam Driver is in the talks to be Reed Richards.
Yeah, okay. Final talks. That's another kind of thing that's being talked about.
That's wild. Could you imagine?
Yeah. Hey man, that would get you
plot twist.
Both of them going ham on imagine them doing both. Like, geez,
man.
Flip flopping back between Marvel and Star Wars. That is a bag and a half. Goodness.
Yeah, for sure. So the next story I wanted to talk about is about our princess.
Yeah.
The one and only Carrie Fisher.
That makes
so
sense.
It was announced this week that she is going to get her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And the day that she's getting her star will be Thursday, May the 4th on Star Wars Day.
That's cool.
Which is very, very fitting. And I thought she already had a star. You would figure she would, But it's come to light that a lot of Star Wars actors, a lot of original trilogy actors, did not receive stars back in the day. So Mark Hamill, I know, recently got a star. Jon Favreau just got a star, and of course now Carrie Fisher will officially have her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It will be right outside the El Capitan Theater, which is a great spot, and that's where Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel does all their big red carpet premieres. And I learned that they actually own the theater. That's why they always have the premieres there. It makes sense. And it's pretty close to Jimmy Kimmel Live as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Billie Lourd, her daughter, will be accepting the star on her behalf. And I'm going to read here a little bit off of walkoffame.com. You can go check it out. This is where I got the picture from. It states actress Carrie Fisher will be honored posthumously by the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce on May 4th, 2023, with the 2,754th star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the category of motion pictures. Fisher's star will be unveiled near the historic El Capitan Theater at 6840 Hollywood Boulevard. The Hollywood Chamber of Commerce has proudly hosted the globally iconic Hollywood Walk of Fame for millions of people around the world since 1960. About our honoree, fans will be over the moon to know that their favorite movie princess Carrie Fisher will be honored with a star on the iconic Hollywood Walk of Fame. Carrie will join her Star Wars co-stars and fellow Walk of Famers Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford on the historic sidewalk, stated Anna Martinez, producer of the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I'm happy to add that her star is just a few feet away from the star of Mark Hamill and across the street from the star of her legendary mother, Debbie Reynolds.
There you go.
Actress, writer, and daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher made her film debut in Shampoo and went on to become a cultural icon playing Princess Leia in the original Star Wars trilogy. Since then, she graced the film screen in such hits as When Harry Met Sally, Hannah and Her Sisters, and The Blues Brothers, to name a few. Her television credits include Laverne and Shirley, Sex and the City, and 30 Rock, for which she received an Emmy nomination. Fisher's best-selling novel, Postcards from the Edge, netted her the Los Angeles Pen Award for Best First Novel. Fisher penned the postcard screenplay for the Oscar-nominated film starring Shirley MacLaine and Meryl Streep. 3 novels and 2 memoirs have followed: Delusions of Grandma, Surrender the Pink, The Best Awful, Wishful Drinking, and Shockaholic. Fisher performed her one-woman stage version of Wishful Drinking on Broadway, which went on to be filmed for HBO and nominated for an Emmy Award.
Wow.
So yeah, long time coming. She's getting her star. The big 3 will be there, and you can visit them at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I saw Mark Hamill's, I think, the last time I went. I'm not sure about Harrison Ford, but yeah, the El Capitan is relatively close to the Grommans, and of course, it's tons of foot traffic around there, and you have the people that dress up as like Star Wars and Marvel characters. But yeah, it's really awesome that she's going to be in there until I don't know, forever, really. Yeah,
I know
it's awesome that Billie Lourd is going to be the person that's there accepting on her behalf. And when Mark Hamill did his, Harrison Ford showed up and gave one of the speeches, and it was pretty cool. What were you going to say, Colin?
I know if you go to Hollywood Studios here in Orlando, they have the handprints of the actual actors there. And Harrison Ford's is there. Mark Hamill's is there. I don't know if Carrie Fisher's is there. I would assume hers is. But that's also something that's super cool as well. And you've got like a lot of like iconic pop culture people that are over there that have the handprints in there. So yeah. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, there's a whole process to I believe you have to be invited to be on the Walk of Fame, and that I think you have to personally pay like something like $25,000 for them to do the work and to buy the star and to put it in. So yeah, you actually got to pay some money. You can't just be famous and get it. So yeah, I think it's an awesome thing. Finally getting her star. So, in other news that I think a lot of people are talking about here, and I think there's a huge misrepresentation of the story, and one of our patrons actually posted it in our Star Wars Stuff podcast group on Facebook. It's a story of Tamira Morrison making a kind of a long quote about a couple different topics here. I'll put it on the screen, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it right here and read it. But there's a couple parts of this, and like I said before, I think people are taking it out of context. When you read it, it sounds a whole lot worse than I think when he said it, because people that were there are stating that he wasn't super serious. This was kind of a tongue in cheek type thing, but a lot of outlets are running with it, thinking that he's kind of upset with the production, with the Book of Boba Fett, with not getting the call for the Mandalorian season 3. So I'll read a little bit of it. I'll read a little bit of it here. It says, "I was supposed to be in the Mandalorian season 3, but nobody rang me. I was waiting for the phone call in New Zealand, waiting and wanting to give up." So a lot of people were posting that. I don't think he was like mad. I think it was in a real joking manner that he said that. And he also states, or actually the article here says, while Morrison didn't reveal if he was hinted at or discussed as a possible cameo appearance in The Mandalorian's 3rd season, he jokingly commented on how Din Djarin took over a show, expressing a similar sentiment fans had when they blamed the Book of Boba Fett for season 3's mediocre reception. So that was another big kind of point of contention where people were like, okay, you interrupted the Book of Boba Fett for Din Djarin's 2 episodes, which are fantastic episodes. I think those are probably the most rewatchable episodes of the whole show, even though it didn't contain Boba Fett, Tamira Morrison. And Morrison continued on to state, well, that Mando guy stole a few chapters of my book. It was painful watching him turn up with some black new lethal sword. And the way he turned up in the Book of Boba, he just destroyed everybody. I'm sure this guy is ruining my show, but I couldn't say anything. I'm not the writer, so I have to bear it, I guess. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on that?
It's funny because I think he is halfway joking and then halfway being serious. It is something that I think a lot of people have said before, is that I think that if we had those same episodes actually in season 3, just remove like him actually showing up for that battle, it would have added to season 3 in a very positive way. That would have been a great kickoff for that season. But for him, he's definitely correct in that Mando stole the show for him. But I don't think he's mad. I think he's happy that he at least got something, like a show, and that he was actually involved. So it's sad that the show, in my opinion, could have been better for him. But he can't be that sad because he's getting calls to go for Ahsoka. He's getting calls to go and do a lot. I think he's going to start doing a lot of live action clones.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was in Kenobi, so I don't think he's going to have or be too sad about that. And Book of Boba Fett season 2 isn't always off the table. So
yeah, I think he got a nice little vacation there where he didn't have to show up back to America because, of course, he lives in New Zealand. He's relaxing in that Polynesian spa. So, yeah. Colin, did you have any thoughts on that?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Josh was saying, like it just makes sense that he would come back to do all of the live action clones and everything. And I'm telling you right now, when Captain Rex makes his live action debut, that's gonna break the internet. I'm telling you, because that character is so iconic for Clone Wars fans and for fans from Rebels, and just seeing him show up on screen live action is gonna blow people away. And
the big thing is, I think he's going to be able to play a different character.
Yeah,
and we haven't seen him do that on screen besides him playing that clone. So him being able to full on do something different and new sounds great for him. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and with Captain Rex, he has a lot of emotion. He is not like he's not like Boba Fett. He's not like Jango or most of the other clones that he has played. Captain Rex does have a lot of emotion, and that character's been through a lot. So it's going to be awesome to see that live action. They haven't officially confirmed it, and most likely because they're saving that for to be a surprise. I think mostly everyone is just kind of assuming that it's going to happen. I would be very surprised if it didn't happen, but it's going to drive people crazy of how awesome that character coming to live action is going to be. But I think that he is and I don't think that the season 2 of the Book of Boba Fett is off the table. I think it might come, and I think they might answer some of what the fans really wanted, which was more bounty hunters. I would love to see not just Bosk and Dengar, but I want to see Embo from the Clone Wars. I want to see a bunch of bounty hunters and them kind of tying into what Boba Fett is trying to do on Tatooine. And I think that we could get there in season 2 if they end up doing it. It's not confirmed yet, but I could see them definitely having the season 2 around the corner.
I think he would have kicked up a far bigger fuss if no one was calling him. If this was like you did your Boba Fett and you did your one cameo in Kenobi, that's it. You're done, and we're not calling you back. Yeah. I definitely think you would have seen a bigger fuss about it. I think this is more of a tongue-in-cheek joke, kind of like, I would have loved the call, but it's fine. I don't really care. It's fine. And then he's going to show up in other projects. Whereas if he was actually gone, I feel like he would have been properly angry, and you would have seen much more about it.
Yeah, I agree. So another person is kind of spoke up a little bit about The Mandalorian season 3. It was Katee Sackhoff. She was on Christian Harloff's podcast, and she did kind of a post podcast with him and talked about a lot of stuff in the finale and in the season that she couldn't talk about previously. And she had some really funny anecdotes, and she talked about several interesting things. She said that when she gave that monologue, I'm forgetting which episode it was, to I think when she talked about surrendering, and I think when there was also a point in time where she was trying to, she made reference to William Wallace in Braveheart. She gave this huge, grand, motivational speech to the Mandalorians, and she said it was totally cut out almost. So there's a huge speech, a huge monologue she gave, but for time purposes, I guess they took it out. And she did address the episode lengths for the Mandalorian, and she said she doesn't know why they're around 30 minutes or so. She has no idea, but she did state that they do shoot a lot of stuff that we don't ever get to see. So it seems like they could make longer episodes. It's just the way it's cut. It seems like Disney Lucasfilm wants to stick to 33 minutes, 40 minutes of actual footage. So that was interesting. I'm trying to think of what else she talked about that was kind of notable.
I just know that for season 2 of The Mandalorian, of that first episode of season 2, I think that kind of spoiled us, because I remember watching that and I saw the runtime and I was like, wow, that's almost an hour. And then that whole episode just felt like a movie, and I was blown away. So I think after that, a lot of people were expecting the rest of the show and season were going to be like that. And then shortly after, we got very short episodes. And for the unseen footage, do you guys think we'll ever see that? I don't think we will.
It's hard to say. I wouldn't doubt that they'd post maybe a little cute little scene where they're like, this is what we worked on, but they decided ultimately not to go with it. Or this is something I brought up earlier. I think I said before, it's like, I feel like these series, someone tells them hey, you have 1,000 minutes to tell this story. You have this many minutes to tell this story. Figure it out from where you want to place it. And they're like, we're going to put more time in some of these episodes, we're going to put more time in some of these episodes. We're going to have to take away a little bit from these other episodes. And I feel like that's what they did for the series. That would make sense in my opinion, as how much time they actually have show running it. Maybe you'll get like a DVD thing or a DVD release that has like some extra scenes and fun things that haven't been seen before. But besides that, I wouldn't really know.
Yeah, I think we might get a little bit of stuff in gallery when that drops, whenever that drops. But also another thing she talked about was she was asked about if there was any type of talk or scene shot of a romantic relationship between Din and Bo, and she said there were talks about it. And her and Brendan Wayne actually kind of rehearsed a little bit a kissing scene, but of course Din never took off his helmet, so she was kind of joking there. But yeah, there was talks about it, and Katee also made this joke that might make the rounds and might have a life of its own.
Oh yeah,
Josh knows what I'm talking about. We're not going to mention it here, but she said that when she looked at the reviews, she was like, I just look at all these reviews and I don't know. It feels like 70% of the people love Bo. They're excited for Bo. And then there's like 10% of the people just hate her. And there's 5% of the people that think I can't act. And there's 2% of the people that
it's far more than 2%. It's far more than 2%. I can let you know that now.
Jeez.
So yeah, I mean, I thought Katee Sackhoff was brilliant as Bo-Katan. I mean, it's for her to go from animation, voicing the character, and then jumping to live action. And of course, she was already an actress doing films in Hollywood. She's in Riddick. She's in Battlestar Galactica. She's done she's done a few horror films, which was kind of surprising. My wife was actually watching a film this past weekend with her in it, and I was like, wow, it's Katee Sackhoff. But yeah, she's done like Oculus, and there's another horror film where she adopts or she orphans a kid, and she was in, I think, Rob Zombie's Halloween as well. So yeah, she's done a lot. She's accomplished. And I think she's kind of being held in reserve now, I think, for the Filoni film. I think she's going to show back up with the Mandalorians, and we're going to get to see her back in action again. But I thought she did a terrific job. I think this was totally Bo's season. What season 4 has in store. I think we're going to jump back to kind of the bounty hunting, adventure of the week type setup for season 4, which I think a lot of fans are kind of clamoring for.
Something I'm wondering is, I think a good example of this is the Halloween franchise, where when they started with they had the first Halloween and people loved the main characters in the first Halloween. Then they had the second one and it continued it. And then they had the third one and it was meant to be like an anthology, and people got really angry. It's like, hey, where are all the characters that I love? And they're like, oh no, this is like a completely different thing. It's just meant to be different events that happen on Halloween. And I feel like that happened with this season, where it's like the first one's about Din, the second one's about Din. This one is about like Bo's story. Like this is a full-on Bo story. And if you continue the Mandalorian and go like, hey, it doesn't mean just Din is the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It means that anyone could be the Mandalorian. It's hard to see if people will be accepting of that or they're trying to push it away. And I think that's one of the biggest issues people are having right now. It's like, I didn't feel like this was Din's story. And it's like, it's not at all. It's what it means to be a Mandalorian. And this is Bo's story. So it'll be interesting towards the future of where we can go with this. I wonder if we'll pull back to try and be more about Din's story, even though I personally feel like, hey, after Ahsoka, this is where stuff gets serious, because everyone's all happy throughout the galaxy, apparently, until Ahsoka happens, and then something else happens past that where they could lead into a season 4 of Mandalorian.
Thrawn.
So it's interesting. I'm wondering where we're going to go with it. Because the ending for like Mando season 3 was just happy ending. Nothing more can happen. So I was like, there's got to be something that breaks everyone's happiness.
I will remember the morning that that I got done watching it. I came into work and I looked at Josh and we just both looked at each other and we were like, what was that? Like that ending was just it threw off so many people. And I remember on my way in, I was on the phone with David and I was just like, did we just watch the ending of a Looney Tunes cartoon? Like what happened? And I watched it the second time and I was like, okay, I'm more at peace with it. But I remember that first watch, I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around what happened. Yeah, man, yeah. And it was so weird of jumping from, and I think I can't be the only one, but I think having an episode with Jack Black and Lizzo and then jumping to the last 2 episodes that we got threw off a lot of people. I think it threw off a lot of people because it was like, oh, like here's a fun Law and Order type episode, and then we jumped to Let's Take Back Mandalore, and it just jumped from a fun episode to a very serious, hanging on the edge of your seat type episodes, and it was great, but it was kind of weird jumping from an episode like that to something very serious.
Yeah, Katee Sackhoff actually did bring up Jack Black and Lizzo. She said that she didn't know that they were cast until the day of shooting.
That's funny.
And she said that it was hard for her to keep a straight face in front of Jack Black because she's like, I'm such a big fan. You just look at the guy and you just want to start laughing and smiling. And
it's Jack Black. Yeah, like it's
yeah. And of course, Christopher Lloyd as well. She was just starstruck, and she said she took a lot of pictures. And she said they're all on her phone. She wants to post them, but she just doesn't want to make her employer angry and by posting them. But she stated that she's seen other people on the set post stuff, so that's the lead she's taking and just posting similar stuff. But yeah, she is a big fan, and she also talked about how some fans will try, and some fans don't really know her background and know her fandom, and will try and mansplain stuff to her online. And yeah, she made a big joke about that. So yeah, she's a pretty cool person, and I'm glad she does podcasting and she speaks about things. So it would be a dream to get her on our show. And she does a lot of conventions, and I'm not sure if she's going to do one at any point in the Texas area. I know Dallas Fan Expo is happening. Hayden Christensen is going to be there next month, I believe. So, yeah, she. I don't know what's up next for her, really. I don't know what other project she's doing. I don't think she has an existing show on Netflix anymore, because she had Longmire and she had, I believe, a show called Another Life, and I think they're both kind of done. But yeah, I'm excited that she's Bo, and I think she's always going to come back. And that Filoni film, I'm looking forward to that for her to actually show up. So
yeah.
So 2 other actors that we now know for sure that are going to show up in Andor season 2 are going to be
One Way Out. Let's go.
And Forrest Whitaker. And this story comes to us via Bespin Bulletin. The headline is Kino Loy and Saw Gerrera confirmed return in Star Wars Andor season 2. So the article states, Kino Loy, the character portrayed by Andy Serkis in Andor season 1, became an instant fan favorite during the events of the Narkina 5 arc, which saw the character inspire fellow prisoners, including Cassian Andor, and led them to freedom. Devastatingly, Loy himself failed to escape the Imperial prison, which led to the belief that though Kino saved the lives of possibly thousands of prisoners, he lost his own. The scene in which Loy watches his fellow prisoners leap to freedom whilst he comes to the realization that there's no escape for him, because for himself, became a standout moment from the season, which with the Narkina 5 arc itself, receiving tremendous praise, as did Serkis's performance.
Snoke.
Shortly after
No.
the arc aired, Andor showrunner Tony Gilroy and director Toby Haynes both teased that Kino Loy survived the events of Andor Season 1, but gave no hints as to how or whether or not the character would appear in the second and final season of the Star Wars series. Back in March, the Andor Season 2 production ventured to Valencia, Spain, where various scenes were shot, including Cassian Andor and Mon Mothma attempting to escape a building on Coruscant, a meeting between Mothma and Luthen Rael, and stormtroopers descending on a building with Rael, which Rael is in. However, a report from the location claimed that Andy Serkis had been involved in the shoot, which took place in the City of Arts and Science. So it looks like Andy Serkis is going to show up for sure. I guess it's a little bit of a spoiler, but I think people are kind of wanting him. I mean, the size of his star, really, I mean, kind of deserves it in a way, I think. And the fact that Andy Serkis had been Snoke before and kind of had to exit Star Wars kind of quickly and unexpectedly in his role as Snoke. And the fact that hopefully the Mandalorian leads up to Snoke stuff. That's a possibility he might return for that. But I think this is totally welcome to see Andy Serkis, who Colin and I got to meet in London for Celebration.
Yeah.
Is back. And also Forrest Whitaker is going to be back. That's a confirmation that I think all of us kind of assumed
We got
that
to
he
see
would be
him,
back.
I'm pretty sure. Did we see him in that trailer? Yeah, we did. That little preview thing we got.
Yeah. Yeah, the trailer at Celebration for Andor Season 2 that nobody else saw except for us at Celebration, I think. I don't think that trailer hit YouTube or anything like that. So
I don't think it really, yeah, because it wasn't really a trailer. It was just kind of like showing little things that they had.
a lot of
had
characters
going.
like walking.
Yeah, because they had
looking.
that big thing that said like this is still in production, like nothing's finished yet. And then they had that whole thing where they couldn't film in the same place, but then had to use the volume or hopefully. And so
Right. So yeah, we're gonna get those two characters back, and I'm excited for that. Seems like the season's gonna move faster, and we're gonna get 3-episode arcs of entire years leading up to the events of Rogue One. And Tony Gilroy's super excited because he says it's easy to write when you know what the ending is. So apparently he's confident, and we're gonna get something really cool. And hopefully we get K2SO back as well. That's another character I'm hoping we get some type of announcement or speculation on.
I mean, it's a no-brainer to have them meet, and I was surprised not to see it in the trailer that we got a celebration of them. I mean, which again, that might be a moment where they're kind of holding it off for the audience to be like, "Oh my gosh, like look, it's K2SO," and I think it's just kind of a thing where it's like most likely they're gonna have it to where it's gonna be a surprise, even though the audience probably knows it's gonna happen, but. I'd be blown away if they didn't have the introduction of him meeting K2SO in the second season. And we know that the end of the show leads directly into Rogue One, so it makes sense. But yeah.
So the other story I have is not a Star Wars related story necessarily, but it is an update and kind of does tie into Andor because it's an update on Gareth Edwards. He has a new film coming out that's very star-studded, and Carrie Hart, formerly of Lucasfilm, is producing. And this is just a little article from Collider that I found. So it states that Gareth Edwards' science fiction adventure where humans confront angry robots just got a new name for itself, as a movie that was previously titled True Love will now be released as The Creator, according to Deadline. The change was announced during Disney's presentation at this year's CinemaCon, where the first trailer for the film was presented to those in attendance. The name for the story wasn't the only thing that changed, as The Creator will now release in theaters on September 29th instead of October 26th. The new date gives the project a week breathing room before titles like Craven and The Killers of the Flower Moon. So I'm happy for him. Gareth Edwards, he is a huge Star Wars fan, and we've spoken about all the reports that how Tony Gilroy kind of came in and kind of took over Rogue One, and Gareth Edwards totally did cooperate with stuff that kind of wasn't going the way that Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, all the executives wanted it to go. So he still stuck around and worked on the film and did what he could. And I always think about this. It's like if you're a huge Star Wars fan, you're directed a Star Wars film, think about the amount of pressure and what goes through someone's mind creating something like a Star Wars film or trilogy, like what JJ did as well. I kind of marvel at the fact that the film came out as good as it did with The Force Awakens. And of course, he directed The Rise of Skywalker too, but Colin Trevorrow was supposed to direct that, and he was let go. And then JJ had to kind of swoop in there. But I'm glad to see Gareth Edwards kind of land on his feet, so to speak, after his last thing he directed, which was essentially Rogue One. So happy for him. So does anyone have anything else they want to talk about as far as do you got any more Jedi Survivor stuff that's crept into your mind that you want to talk about?
I think there's a lot, but I think like it's probably I'm worried for Josh because I'm afraid that like something's gonna pop online and then he is gonna get spoiled, and I just don't want that to happen.
It'll be fine.
You'll just be scrolling on Facebook and the entire plot is just like in one picture. Come on, no,
No,
oh come on.
it would be sad.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, no. I'm just excited for. So yes, we went to Celebration. It's over, but you know that feeling that I got at Celebration is still there because we've got Visions, we've got Jedi Survivor. Again, and I was talking with someone about this today, and I was really, really excited about it. But it's like, yes, we've seen Return of the Jedi, before. Of course, it's fine. It's a movie we've seen. But what I'm excited about is seeing Star Wars in the theater again, seeing it with a crowd of people, and just seeing it with other Star Wars fans. That is what I fell in love with, is going to the cinema, sitting there, having I think a popcorn, and just hearing everyone have very similar reactions as me to the scenes happening in front of me, and just seeing it with a crowd. I can ask us enough is awesome. And Max Rebo is coming back for his awesome appearance that he made all the way back in 1983. After 40 years, he's back on the big screen. So I am excited. Very, very excited. But yeah. And then we got volume 2 of Visions that's coming out on May 4th. We've got D23 coming up. It's not in May, is it? Or is it happening at some point this year, Josh? I haven't been following with that.
For Star Wars Visions?
No. For D23.
D23 usually happens in a non-celebration year. I don't think it's happening this year.
They do like a mini version of it. They don't
Yeah.
do like a full version of it. It's happening in Florida this time, I believe, as well.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's usually like biannually.
Mhm.
But yeah, Star Wars Day is coming up May 4th. Like Colin said, Visions 2. You're going to get to see Carrie Starr. And of course, I think what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to podcast during the day. I think James said he's going to join us. So we're going to try and get other people involved here and just talk Star Wars pretty much the whole day.
Yeah, D23 is September 8th through 10th.
Okay.
This year.
I know. So there's going to be a bunch of us going to Galaxy's Edge that day, including a couple of people that have been on the podcast. I think we're waiting to officially say it when they arrive, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll be live streaming all day. We're going a couple of days before, and there's going to be some things most likely that will be announced that day. I could see them, dropping the trailer for Skeleton Crew. I think that would be a lot of fun to talk about. But there's that possibility that things will drop. And then what they also did last year was they just dropped the new lightsabers at Galaxy's Edge, and then they just didn't like, they didn't have like an official announcement like the day before. It was just like, okay, if you go here, there might be something in there. Because I think Josh, they had was it Anakin and Obi-Wan's lightsabers, or was it okay? Yeah. So they just had just a bunch of different things, and they always come out with like exclusive May 4th stuff. So if you live near like a Disney store or something, most likely they'll have pins and different May 4th merch. But yeah, I treat that day like Christmas. I love that day.
All right, yeah, and if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit like, hit the little bell to notify. You can also find us on Instagram. We're dropping posts every day at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We're also on Twitter at Stuff Pod. You can find us on Patreon at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on TikTok. You can email us your thoughts, your comments at starwarstuffpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook. We have a page. We have a group. We post memes there just about every day. Shout out to Tim Seitz, who pretty much posts every single day on there. If you're listening to us on a podcast app on your phone or on your desktop or whatever device, if you're on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. Drop a comment. Also on Spotify, give us 5 stars there. We'd really appreciate it. You can help other people find us a whole lot faster, easier. And also, we have a gaming channel. We had up earlier on Twitch, Star Wars Stuff Gaming. You're going to want to check that out for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And also, we have a website you can go to and see everyone's bio. And in the future, we hope to have stories on there at stuffpodcastnetwork.com. So lots of stuff. We're pretty much everywhere online, everywhere that you can find podcasts. So check us out there. And I have one more comment here. From Late to the Party, says, been listening and editing at the same time. Good show, y'all. Thanks so much. And for Colin, Josh, and myself, David, may the force be with you.
Always. Done.